I want to make absolutely clear that our opposition to our socialist colleagues has absolutely nothing to do with their gender, with their religion, or with their race. It has to do with the content of their policies.
You're seeing what they're bringing to the floor today. One more attempt to personally attack President Trump instead of focusing on things that can actually get this economy going. Just yesterday here at this very microphone, you saw some of my colleagues say false and misleading things from this microphone. You see Omar continue to use terms like people drinking out of toilets. It's not happening in any of those detention facilities.
Were the president's tweets that said "go back" racist? Yes or no?
No. And I do not believe the Speaker of the House was racist last week either when those individuals on her side of the aisle who are claiming the president is racist, when they claimed she was racist either. I do not believe that. I believe this is about ideology. This is about socialism versus freedom. And it's very clear what the debate is happening. I understand when I listened to their press conference yesterday, they talked more about impeachment than anything else. Even one of those individuals, this wasn't the first time they talked about impeachment.
There's a perception, whether it be right or not, that the Republican Party and members have not sufficiently rejected what the president said. You say that these comments are not racist.
I think the president clarified that.
Even if it is the situation that those comments are over the line, even if you don't believe it, isn't a problem with the optic for the party that members are going to vote today on your side of the aisle to support the president and what he said about.
I think this party has been very clear. We are the party of Lincoln. This party believes in the content of the individual. I've watched from our own actions. I've watched an individual in my own party do something that we disagreed with. We took action. I've watched the other side of the aisle, though, when it came to questioning a person's faith, a person's loyalty to America and other, that no action was taken. I've watched what was written in a resolution using words that you can't even use on the floor. I've watched a press conference that only talked about impeachment. I've watched a chairman of the Judiciary Committee that handles impeachment use as their platform to win the chairmanship that he would be better to impeach the president. Long before a Mueller report ever came through and said no collusion or others. Let's not be false about what is happening here today.
So you're considering a primary run against the sitting president. Tell us why.
Because I think, again, these are not my words, but they're the words of Erskine Bowles, the former, head of the Bowles-Simpson Commission. I think that we're walking our way toward the most predictable financial crisis in the history of man. And there is little to no, I guess I'd say no discussion of debt, deficit, and government spending in Washington these days. I've watched 2 Democratic presidential debates, and there's been zero discussion on both of them as to this issue. The president has said we're not going to touch the very things that drive debt and spending. So I think that, we're walking our way into one heck of a financial storm, and there's no discussion, and yet presidential years have historically been the year in which we do discuss these things.
Does any of his, I guess, the way he conducts himself, and the most recent example being this attack on these 4 congresswomen, does anything like that contribute to your decision, or is it truly just an issue of spending and Republicans really getting away from their fiscal hawk roots that is motivating you?
It's the second. I mean, in other words, there's more than enough commentary. I was just sitting on set and listening to, people discussing both sides of the president's comments. I think that they're noxious and they're weird and they're all those different things that people are discussing. But there's, again, plenty of discussion on that front. The place where there's no discussion is the way in which, interest is the largest growing expense in the federal government. We will spend more on interest than we do on our national defense bill in just 3 years. Nobody's talking about it. So we'll talk about national security issues, but leave out what Admiral Mike Mullen, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, described as the biggest national security threat, which is the debt and deficit. So it's the second for me. Because, again, and I'm not sure that a presidential run is the way. Maybe it started an advocacy group. But we have got to, again, register this in this presidential year, in this presidential race, in a way that is currently not finding currency. I think that's a real problem, and that's why I'm going to explore here over the next 30 days on go versus no go.